Welcome to EconVerse. Today we're diving deep into a really significant issue with widespread implications, the rising tide of financial fraud in India. We'll be focusing particularly on those increasingly sophisticated scams targeting the Unified Payments Interface, or UPI. For you, our listener, navigating the digital economy is just part of everyday life, so understanding these threats is more critical than ever for your financial well-being.
Absolutely. And what immediately grabs you is just the sheer scale we're talking about here. The projections, the current data, it's not just numbers. It represents a substantial drain on the economy and a very real threat to individuals. It's definitely something that warrants a closer look to understand the mechanics and, crucially, how to prevent it.
And that's exactly our mission today. We've pulled together information from, well, quite a few places. We've got articles from the Times of India, detailed reports from cybersecurity firms like CloudSEK and Equentis, practical insights from payment platforms, Razorpay, and even a fascinating discussion over on Reddit about the international angle of these scam centers. Our goal, to give you a clear picture, the types of fraud, the staggering amounts of money involved, and really importantly, actionable steps you can take to protect yourself.
Okay, so let's start with that broad picture. CloudSEK, for instance, forecasts that India could face cybercrime losses of around 20,000 crore in 2025. Now, to really grasp that, I mean, think about it, that's a huge sum. It's comparable to significant parts of national budgets for things like health or education. It just underscores the massive economic hit. And within that, specifically losses from things like brand abuse, fake domains, phishing sites. That alone is predicted to hit about 9,000 crore in 2025.
Those are just eye-watering figures, and it's not just projections that are worrying, is it? The data from 2024 is already pretty stark.
Oh, definitely. CloudSEK documented over 1.7 million cybercrime complaints just in 2024. And Equentis' analysis, it shows a really significant jump in financial fraud incidents in 2024 compared to 2023, a major upswing. And what's really striking is where these losses are concentrated geographically. Mumbai, India's financial capital, well, sadly, it's become a major hotspot. Equentis data showed that in 2024, Mumbai alone saw over 12,000 crore in financial fraud losses.
12,000 crore in just one city.
Yeah. Get this, that's over half, 51% of all the financial fraud losses reported across the entire state of Maharashtra.
That's incredible. It makes you wonder why, doesn't it? Is it just more transactions or something else going on there?
It's likely a combination of factors. High transaction volume, perhaps specific vulnerabilities, maybe even where the scam operations are based. And look, the Reserve Bank of India, the RBI, their own data backs up this, which detailed 18,461 financial fraud cases in just the first half of the financial year 2024-25. And the total value of those frauds, a massive 21,367 crore.
21,000 crore in 6 months.
And here's the kicker. That represents an 8-fold increase compared to the same period the year before.
And it seems like cyber fraud specifically is really driving a lot of this increase.
Precisely. Equentis, using Statista data, highlighted that cyber fraud losses surged past 1.7 billion in 2024. And if you look just at the first 9 months of 2024, the Hindustan Times reported something like 11,333 crore lost to cyber scams. And stock trading scams were apparently particularly common, so it's hitting investments too, not just daily spending.
So it's clear this isn't just about, average people getting tricked. The corporate world must be feeling this too.
Oh, absolutely. Equentis also mentioned a survey finding that 59%, nearly 6 out of 10 Indian companies, experienced financial or economic fraud in the last 2 years. So yeah, it's systemic, affecting individuals, affecting big organizations, it's everywhere.
Okay, so we've established the scale. It's huge. It's growing fast. Let's zoom in now on UPI fraud specifically. UPI has become so central to daily life in India, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Super convenient. But that convenience, unfortunately, seems to have created a really fertile ground for these fraudsters.
It really has. What's striking is how quickly scammers adapted their tactics to exploit UPI's popularity. Razorpay's data showed that in the financial year 2023-24 alone, there were over 13.4 lakh, that's 1.34 million reported UPI fraud cases. And the losses, over 1,087 crore, that's a serious amount being siphoned off.
Wow, 1.34 million cases. And Razorpay detailed some of the common ways they do it, right? Fake UPI IDs, phishing, social engineering.
Exactly. They use a mix of psychological tricks and technical methods. Both Razorpay and Bajaj Burking gave some good breakdowns of the specific types of UPI fraud we're seeing most often.
Okay, let's walk through some of those so listeners know what to watch out for. Phishing, for example, that's the phone call one.
Yeah, phishing, voice phishing. Scammers call pretending to be from your bank, maybe customer service. Sounds simple, but it works because people tend to trust their bank.
Right, and then there are fake payments and transfers. How does that work?
Several ways. They might give you a fake QR code to scan, which sends money to them instead of who you intended. Or if you're selling something, they might send a fake payment confirmation screenshot to trick you into thinking they've paid. They can even send fake payment requests, hoping you'll approve it by mistake. Then there's classic phishing, those dodgy emails or texts with links to fake websites trying to steal your login details. And scams on online marketplaces are common too. You pay for something, it never arrives, or it's fake. It's a whole ecosystem.
It really is multifaceted. And it gets more technical too, doesn't it? Like screen monitoring apps and malware.
Yes. Malicious apps, sometimes hidden inside other apps, can record your screen. They capture your PINs, your passwords, everything. And malware, maybe downloaded from a bad link, can just steal your banking details directly from your phone.
That's scary stuff. And you mentioned money mules and SIM cloning.
Money mules are basically people whose bank accounts are used to move stolen money around. Sometimes they don't even know, sometimes they're coerced. It just makes it harder for police to follow the money trail back to the original scammers.
Okay. Laundering, essentially.
In a way, yes. And SIM cloning is where they create a duplicate of your SIM card that lets them intercept your OTPs, those one-time passwords you get via SMS for transactions, gives them control.
It's just unsettling how many angles they have. Deceptive UPI handles on social media, collect request scams, even using legitimate remote access apps like AnyDesk.
Right, the remote access scams are particularly nasty. They'll call, maybe pretending to be tech support, convince you there's a problem with your phone or app, and then persuade you to install something like AnyDesk or TeamViewer and give them access. They say it's to fix the problem.
But really gives them complete control of your phone.
Exactly. Once they have that access, they can just open your banking apps and drain your account themselves.
Which brings us to a relatively new one that sounds particularly insidious. The call merging scam. The Times of India reported NPCI warned about this.
Yes, NPCI, the National Payments Corporation of India, put out a warning. It is insidious. Fraudsters are exploiting that simple call merging feature on your phone. So the first scammer calls, maybe pretending to be from the bank, then they trick you into merging that call with another number.
Which connects you to a second scammer.
Precisely. And that second scammer is the one who then tries to get your OTP or other sensitive details. You've unknowingly patched the thief directly into your conversation.
Wow. Okay, so what did NPCI advise people to do about this specific scam?
Their advice is critical. First, avoid merging calls with any unknown numbers. Just don't do it. Second, always independently verify the identity of anyone claiming to be from your bank. Hang up and call the bank back on their official number. Third, remember, your bank will never ask for your OTC over the phone. Never, ever. And finally, report any suspicious calls immediately to the National Cybercrime Helpline, 1930.
Okay, let's dig a bit deeper into how these UPI frauds typically play out. Razorpay outlined a common pattern, didn't they?
They did, and understanding it helps you spot the red flags. It often starts with that random, unsolicited call. They'll try to sound legit, maybe ask some basic verification questions, name, date of birth, that sort of thing. Then comes the hook. They invent some kind of technical problem. Your UPI app isn't working, your account is blocked, something urgent.
Creating that panic, that urgency.
Exactly. And that's when they often push you to download a remote access app, like AnyDesk. We need this to fix the problem remotely. But listeners need to understand, giving permission to these apps can literally hand over full control of your phone. Everything on it.
And then comes the moment they ask for the OTP, right? That 6-digit code.
Yes. Once they have the OTP, often combined with the remote access and maybe asking for extra permissions within that app, they've got everything they need. They can log into your accounts, make transfers, all from your own device.
Razorpay also mentioned SMS-based fraud, too.
That's right, a different tactic. They might send you a text message, maybe something that looks official, and then tell you to forward that specific message to another number. What you don't realize is that forwarding that message might contain code or instructions that link your number or account to their UPI setup.
So just forwarding a text could compromise you.
It potentially could, depending on the specific scam. It just highlights how careful you need to be with any unusual request involving OTPs, app downloads, or forwarding messages.
Absolutely. Prevention really is the name of the game here. So what are the key actionable things listeners can do right now to protect themselves better?
Well, starting with the NPCI advice on call merging is crucial. Don't merge calls with unknowns. Verify callers. Remember, banks don't ask for OTPs, and report to 1930. Beyond that, Razorpay and Bajaj Broking both give a really good list of general prevention tips for UPI fraud. Essential stuff for everyone.
Okay, let's run through some of those. Avoiding unknown calls and messages sounds basic, but worth repeating. And verifying callers independently, not just trusting the caller ID.
Definitely. And be super cautious with payment requests. Remember the golden rule. You never need to enter your PIN to receive money via UPI. That's a huge red flag if someone asks. Pay attention to spam warnings in your UPI app, too. Report and block suspicious requests immediately.
Where you get your apps from is critical too, isn't it? Only official stores.
Absolutely. Google Play Store, Apple App Store. Never download financial apps from random websites or links sent via a message. Also, use the security features on your phone. Fingerprints, Face ID, enable those. And get good, updated antivirus software for your phone. Be wary of email links. Always check the sender before clicking anything or downloading attachments.
And keeping an eye on your accounts. Regularly checking statements.
Yes, monitor your bank accounts and UPI history. Look for anything you don't recognize. And maybe be careful using public Wi-Fi for financial stuff. Those networks aren't always secure.
Good point. What else? Tracking bank messages, OTPs?
Yeah, watch those SMS alerts from your bank carefully. Did you get an OTP you didn't request? That's suspicious. And the big one, never ever share your passwords or OTPs. Not on the phone, not via email, not ever. Even your mobile number itself is sensitive with UPI, so don't just give it out freely online or to strangers.
And QR codes. Be careful with those too.
Be conscious of where they come from. Only scan codes from trusted sources. If a random person sends you a QR code, be very suspicious. And finally, use multi-factor authentication wherever you can. That extra layer really helps.
Okay, that's a lot of good advice. Sticking to those basics seems like it would significantly cut down the risk. But what if the worst happens? If someone thinks they've been scammed, what's the immediate action?
Time is absolutely critical. First thing, call your bank immediately. Tell them what happened. Ask them to block your UPI access, maybe even freeze the account temporarily to stop any more money going out. After that, you need to file a formal complaint. Go to your local police's cybercrime cell. Or you can use the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal. Again, that helpline number is 1930, or you can file online via their website.
And Razorpay mentioned that payment service providers, the PSPs, have some responsibility here too.
Yes, they do. They're part of the system and have obligations for security and investigating fraud. When you report fraud to your bank, they'll start an investigation, ask for details about the transaction, how it happened, and so on.
It's good to know there are official channels. Now, shifting focus slightly, the Times of India mentioned government initiatives too, right? A 100-day plan.
Yes, the government seems to be taking this really seriously. They launched this 100-day action plan aimed at better protecting people from online scams. A big part of it is setting up a dedicated cyber fraud mitigation center, the CFMC.
CFMC. Okay, what's the idea behind that? How will it work?
The core idea is better coordination, bringing all the key players together in one place. So government agencies, banks, telecom companies, internet companies, social media platforms, representatives from all of them working side by side. Right now, a lot of communication is electronic, which can be slow.
Right, so putting them physically together is meant to speed up the response, make it more joined up.
Exactly. Faster detection, quicker mitigation, more seamless cooperation. The report said major banks, telcos, law enforcement are assigning people to work there directly.
That sounds like a positive step towards a more unified approach. And we keep mentioning that 1930 helpline, another key government resource. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dives, let's quickly recap the main takeaways for everyone listening. We've seen a really significant and frankly worrying rise in financial fraud in India, especially involving UPI. We've talked about the many different tactics scammers use, from simple phone calls to more technical attacks, and we've really hammered home the importance of prevention.
Absolutely. Your own vigilance, your awareness, that's your strongest defense. Being cautious with calls and messages, guarding your PINs and OTPs like gold, checking your accounts regularly. Doing that basic stuff consistently makes a huge difference.
And while the authorities are working on bigger solutions, like that CFMC, the reality is right now, individual caution is the first and maybe the best line of defense in this digital world.
Which brings us to a final thought, perhaps something for you to mull over. We love the convenience of digital payments, don't we? But how do we balance that convenience with the absolute responsibility we have for our own financial security? Beyond the tips we discussed today, what other steps, maybe less obvious ones, could you take? Not just to protect yourself, but maybe to help make the whole digital space a bit safer for everyone in your community. Something to think about.